please.
I did try to warn you.
The world of the From TV show is an enigmatic place, with so many supernatural forces at work, and an ominous forest surrounding Fromville. There is nothing about this town that screams normal. That is why a lot of fans theorize that maybe this town is not in our dimension at all. Could it be that the Fromville exists in the Fae realm? We know that showrunners have taken inspiration from several folklore and mythologies. So, could it be that the Fae folklore is an integral part of the Fromville myth? Let's discuss. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Just go in here?
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
The relationship between the town and the Fae realm. Now, if I tell you that the Fromville is in the Fae realm, you are not going to believe me. Not without some receipts, at least. Well, I got some for you right here. Let's go through them, one by one.
Well, that's a pretty selective storm.
The fallen tree. So, one of the first things about the town that we notice right off the bat is the fallen tree. The fallen tree literally serves as the beginning of the town and the horrors of Fromville. You might think that this has nothing to do with the Fae folklore, but you'd be wrong. Surprisingly enough, in the Fae folklore, the trees actually play a pretty big role. In Fae legends, we learn about fairy trees, which are like faraway trees that connect the Fae world with the real world. So, where does the fallen tree come into the picture? Well, a lot of fans have considered that the fallen tree could just be another faraway tree, instead of having a hole in the trunk that you can step through. This particular brand of fallen tree activates the moment you look at it and go the other way. And I think those fans were right. In Irish mythology, it has been said pretty clearly that cutting a fairy tree is bad luck. More often than not, farmers would keep one tree standing when they thought it was a fairy tree, even if it was in the middle of their fields. But if some unfortunate soul decided to cut down a fairy tree, bad luck would soon follow. So, if we go off of that, we could say that the fallen tree is a faraway tree, or something along those lines, that was uprooted at some point in the past. My bet? The entity controlling the town uprooted a tree in the hopes of keeping the original villagers trapped in there forever. But some villagers who did not agree with the whole child sacrifice thing left the village. While they thought they were able to leave the horrors of the town behind them, the town kept track. That's why they keep reincarnating in every cycle and are brought back in front of the fallen tree. They turn their back on the tree, like they did before, except this time, the moment they do, they are on their way into Fromville. The crows we often see on top of the fallen tree definitely have more to them, which we will discuss. But for now, think about it this way. These crows are there to look ominous and scare everyone into turning around, going back the way they came from. The forest, other than being the home to many faraway trees, creatures, and the mysterious entity known as the Music Box Monster, the forest that surrounds the Fromville is an entity of its own. It is absolutely ominous, even during the day. One of the fascinating things about this forest has to be the way it keeps closing in on the town. Throughout the first season, Victor obsessively measures the distance between the trees and the colony house. Each time, he mentioned that the trees were getting closer to the colony house. I think this is something that has happened before. Look at the motel, for example. As Henry pointed out, the pool is there. But where's the motel? The motel should be somewhere around the pool, right? But none of the houses we see near the pool seems to be a motel that was repurposed. So where did it go? We have also seen old huts in the forest, which simply does not make sense. Who built them? Why were they created? How long have they been here? So many questions and so few answers. If we hypothetically assume that the Fae is in charge of this place, then it makes complete sense why the forest seems to be drawing closer. We know that the Faes are from a place known as the Otherworld. It is hidden from human sight, but it constantly affects the reality of the mortals. What if they are manipulating the forest? I think that originally, the pool and motel were both there. The Faes created the Fromville in such a way that it seems safe for people who got trapped. We do not know just yet how far people went in the previous cycles to save the children, but I would not be surprised to learn that in one of the previous cycles, someone tried to go after the electrical lines just like Tabitha did. Maybe they did so by digging underneath the motel, which led to the place crumbling, just like the Matthews house did. Before you ask me where all the debris went, hear me out. I think every time the cycle ends, the forest ends up covering the town. Under the cover of the forest, the new buildings of the town have been built, which would explain away the age-old question, who built the houses? In Victor's flashback, We see the motel sign but no motel. So I think, in one of the earlier cycles, the motel broke down and it got removed from the premises by the Fae simply because they could. They are malicious and mischievous. So I would say this is pretty on brand for them.
3. Come on, let's go.
The electricity in the town. In the first season of the show, after the Matthews family gets trapped in the town, Jim and Tabitha decide they want to get into the action. Jim focused on building a radio with Jade, while Tabitha tried figuring out where the electricity came from. I think none of us would have been surprised if Jim's radio did not work. I guess that is what, deep down, we were all expecting. And that's why the showrunners subverted our expectations by giving us a glimmer of hope when Jim's radio worked for a second. Then, of course, that hope was trampled all over when the voice on the other side told Jim that Tabitha should not be digging that hole in the basement of their house. I think the reason that the voice, who we now know to be the man in yellow, warned Jim is because Tabitha's quest to find the main energy source was a dead giveaway of the place. Faes are known for being able to control light, so is it really that far-fetched if we were to assume that the Faes intentionally provide electricity to the townsfolk out of nowhere? They are simply manipulating the light. I mean, talk about efficient power management. Why get solar panels when you could have Fae-sourced electricity? And since we know they can control reality and warp it in any way, shape, or form, that would explain away why the people get flowing water. These are just the doings of the fairies. Now, you might ask me, why would the fairies be helping the humans in these ways when they actually want to harm them? Now, that's a valid question, and I have an answer for that as well. The Fae's relationship with the townsfolk. We all remember the cave drawing from the second season, right? The huge entity we see painted in red seems to be the big boss. Even though nothing has been confirmed yet, we are pretty sure that there is some Lovecraftian horror happening in the background. And I think that theory is not as hogwash as one might think. So what if the Faes we are dealing with are Faes who are serving under an eldritch horror? What if they are here to create a world that makes it easy for this Lovecraftian entity to harvest souls and be strong? I don't think the Faes are trying to help the people at all by providing light, flowing water, and shelter. I think the Faes are trying to weaken the guards of the people, and we have actually seen it work. Remember the day the bus came into town? When Donna tried to get them all into the diner? A lot of passengers, including Bacta, refused to go in. Donna had to literally shoot out the tires of the bus in the hopes that it would get these people to listen, but no one did because, for everyone else, they were in a normal town with absolute lunatics inhabiting it. If this was a decrepit, creepy-looking place where everything looked absolutely morbid and ominous, I think all the passengers would have gone with the group of people who were alive and trying to help them. Fromville does not reek of danger at first glance, and that's what the Fae used to attack people.
Très mauvaise cachette.
The supernatural entities in Fromville and their connection to the Fae. Sluas are the fairies from Irish mythology, and since the first season, several fans have clocked in on the fact that the Fromville seems to be under the effects of Sluas. Sluas draw people into their own realm for sadistic and nefarious purposes. They are more than happy to steal the souls of the living, and they particularly target the ones who are going through a rough patch or are dying. They usually attack at night. When they are on their prowl, they hunt for pleasure, and not because they have any particular need. They are usually described as a haggard and pitiful version of who they used to be when they were once human. That's right, folks. Sluas were once humans. They can also shapeshift into birds. And the only way you can survive the Slua is by ensuring you do not walk alone in the night, tempting them. You gotta stay indoors and away from secluded places. Another way that you can get away from a Slua, despite being a rather unpopular one, is when you trade your life for someone else's. Now, I don't know about you, but this reminds me a lot of the monsters we have met so far in the town. The creatures, when they are not in their human form, look like these white, ghastly creatures with sharp claws and teeth. They are like the most broken down version of who they used to be, almost looking inhuman. The only way you can survive the monsters is by staying in an enclosed place with a talisman. No matter how much they tempt you with their words and their saccharine smiles, you have to stay inside, because if you don't and step out, they will literally rip out your guts. And they do not even kill people because they wish to eat them. They do so because it gives them some sort of sadistic joy. Somehow, these monsters know everything about everyone in the town, even the bus passengers. Then, they use this knowledge to create confusion, desperation, and to a degree, depression in the hearts of the townsfolk, urging them to step out, for it will be all over them, and they'd feel better. We saw them specifically taunt Fatima and Boyd in the last 2 seasons. And yes, they clearly have an obsession with Boyd, who is definitely broken after taking his wife's life and has Parkinson. We also saw them forcing Boyd to trade his life for Randall's, which was so messed up. Another big reason why I think the creatures are fairies is the way they reacted when Victor and Henry went into the tunnels in the 6th episode of the 3rd season. In this episode, you would remember that Victor wanted to get his hands on Jasper, Christopher's wooden puppet, as he thought Jasper was the one who told Christopher about the history of the town. So to get that, Victor and Henry go inside the tunnels, which act as the lair of the monsters. There, when Victor picked up Jasper, the monsters did not wake up, but it was pretty clear that they knew that Victor was there. Then, the moment Henry took the scarf, which he recognized as Miranda's, the monsters woke up and started taunting them. Surprisingly enough, none of them attacked Victor. I think if they wanted to, they would have killed Victor and his father then and there. As much as I love Victor, he does not have the best agility, and Henry is almost geriatric. How difficult could it be? I think the monsters did not attack them because they knew that Victor was coming down there to get something he would have had they not taken it. Remember the briefcase that Victor buried because he could not bury all the bodies he found? That briefcase did not have a single memento from Christopher, so Victor would have had Jasper in the briefcase had the monsters not taken it. Since Victor had some claim over Jasper, the monsters did not stir when he took it. However, Henry taking Miranda's scarf was not in the equation. Since fairies are very particular about what you can take or give them, I believe this little interaction serves as a huge clue.
Maybe I can come in.
So, where exactly is Fromville? I think that the Fromville, the town and the forest as a whole, are a part of this alternate, rather pocket dimension, which happens to be at the edge of the real world. The Faes exist in this border between the other world and our world, and manipulate time and reality to their will to trap humans in a dimensional loop that simply will not end. There is no clear way to escape, and the rules of this place always change. The entities at play, even if they are not fairies, have powers similar to theirs. And that's why we see them tricking humans and distorting their perception of reality until all hope is lost. The ghost Abby told Boyd that the entities here feed on hope, and that giving up is the best thing that they can do. I believe the reality is, hope is the force that drives the townsfolk to go against all odds, and still work on finding their way out. Since they are getting closer to successfully making it out of the town, the entity is getting desperate and changing everything that it can to ensure all characters lose hope. Once they lose hope, a great massacre will happen, like the one that Victor witnessed, and the cycle will begin again with a new set of people.
Boy, let's go.
Marvelous verdict. I gotta admit, From is an excellent TV show. Waiting for the 4th season might seem tedious at first, but we all know that when it comes out, it will be worth the wait. The season finale of the 3rd season gave us so many valuable bits of information about the town, including the fact that the monsters were actually humans who sacrificed the children for the sake of immortality. This has pushed forward the theory that maybe this heinous action turned them into sluas, and everything we are seeing is just the trickery of the fairy. But that's just my theory. What do you guys think? Do you think everyone is trapped in the Fae dimension? Let us know in the comments, and I will see you guys the next time. Bye! And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe.